In its first ever reckoning of global progress on cutting carbon emissions, the United Nations is warning that the world is way off track. The UN's global stocktake says tackling climate change needs a rapid transformation of the way our world works, travels, eats and uses energy. Our climate editor, Justin Rowlatt, is here. My word, this doesn't sound very encouraging.
Well, it's not actually as negative as the headline that you've given. What the UN is saying is that the system that it set up back in Paris, big climate conference in Paris in 2015, to tackle climate change is working. And it points out that virtually every nation on Earth has acknowledged that climate change is a problem that needs to be addressed and is doing something to tackle it. And just think for a moment what that means. You know, China, India, America, Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Iran, Saudi Arabia, all sitting down together with the other nations of the world and talking about this issue, acknowledging we need to do something to tackle global warming. The problem is, as you say, that we're not doing it fast enough. It says we need a rapid switch to green technologies, we need renewable power, we need to phase out fossil fuels unless the carbon emissions are captured and stored permanently underground. But it says we do have the technologies we need to do this. What is lacking is urgency and ambition.
All right. Justin, thank you. Justin Rowlatt. And the criticism from the UN comes as no new offshore wind projects have been bought by developers at a key government auction, a blow to efforts to increase the use of renewable energy in the UK. Companies say soaring costs mean it isn't worth their while, though there are contracts for solar, tidal and onshore wind projects, as our business editor, Simon Jack, explains.
Windmills in the sea, giant offshore turbines like this produce 14% of all the UK's electricity last year, and the government has a target to quadruple offshore output by 2030 to meet rising demand while lowering emissions. But today, an auction to sell the rights to build more failed to attract a single bid, as developers said the price at which they're allowed to sell the electricity was too low.
We weren't able to bid because costs have gone up significantly that we're seeing. All the different manufacturers, where they're providing ships, cables, steel for the foundations, microchips that go into these complex items, all of their costs have just gone up. So by the time we go out and try and put a package together, we just weren't able to do so.
Offshore wind has been considered a huge success, and prices have fallen substantially and steadily over the last few years. But as you were hearing there, companies have decided that the new target price is too low to make it viable given inflation. But it's still cheaper than electricity produced with gas, which has also, as you can see there, been incredibly volatile, particularly following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Now, offshore wind is also meant to be the backbone of the energy transition. We're currently generating nearly 14 gigawatts of offshore wind. The government target is 50 by 2030. The government says overall the renewables auction was a success today, with a record number of solar bids plus some onshore wind and tidal projects announced. But this auction delivered around a third of the renewable energy compared to the last one. Opposition leaders went on the attack.
Well, this is a disaster for Britain. It will raise bills for families and undermine our energy security. And the government is entirely responsible for this mess, because they were warned repeatedly by industry that this would happen.
Meanwhile, liquefied natural gas, which is transported around the world to shore up countries' energy supplies, jumped 12% today as workers at huge Australian gas plants went on strike. A reminder that the wind may not always blow, but relying on fossil fuels can be a risky business. Simon Jack, BBC News.